in a way.
Yes, it should.
Sarah Baca, Carrie Horton,
Here.
Kenny Morlett here, Brandon Mark Ward here, Dave Moore here. All right, approval agenda. First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Community forum? Negative. I think you're okay. All right, approval of policy.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Approval of bills for payment. Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Financial report, $3,824,533.81.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mike, you're up.
Here we go. All right, my report's in front of you. My information this month is really with upcoming legislation. The new session begins in January. We're already getting some rumblings about things that might come up on the docket. Keeping in mind, we have been surprised every year, but this is what we're hearing about now. Again, possible extension of operational sharing. Right now, you're limited to a total of 21 units to be shared. We are maxed out at that, so if they raise that, we will certainly be able to take advantage of it. The rumbling is they're going to talk again about a dedicated funding stream for school resource officers. If that passes, that will free up a stream of at-risk money that we could take a look at doing something with. So it would be really nice if that would make it through this time. PK funding, again, right now, remember that preschool students are funded at 0.5 instead of 1.0. We continue to push for 1.0 funding, especially for those districts that have all-day pre-K. The governor has come out and said that she wants some kind of statewide cell phone policy. My prediction is it's going to be something less stringent than what we already have in place. I think we're ahead of the game. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. And then they're going to take a look at the Chapter 12 requirements. Those are the graduation requirements, the offer and teach requirements for districts. I don't know if they're going to recommend any changes or not, but they've talked a couple of years about taking a look at those. And I think this year they're actually going to start seriously looking at them. The ADA task force met a couple days ago. This is required by the state legislation from last year. It's a collection of a couple superintendents, some AEA chiefs, other officials throughout the state. They are charged with making a recommendation to the legislature on future steps with the AEA realignment. Basically what I know, and this was from the article that was put out on KCRG, there was a motion made to slow things down, let the process work through before we go much further. That was voted down. They're going to meet again in February. I don't know what, if any, future action that the task force will do, but that's what they've done so far. Our representative and senator's information is there for you. If you are so inclined to contact them, now is the time to really do advocacy before they start in with the session. So if you want to start those relationships, now is the time. My schedule, a reminder that Mondays and Thursdays I'm in Morning Sun. My January superintendent meeting is going to be on the 8th. And then I'll be traveling up north to Minnesota to see family over break, but my social director hasn't told me what days those are going to be yet. So, but they will be happening. And then if you flip over, you'll see our head count as of this morning. We held steady for the month. We're still sitting at 534 according to Power School. So I think that's good news.
Thank you. Questions? That's correct.
All right. As far as the elementary goes, and this time of year is tough. Just outside the classroom, the weather with the kids coming to school, either fully prepared or not prepared at all. If you ever hear of anybody that's got extra hats, gloves, snow pants, boots, even if they're gently used, they'll take them. There's always a need. When it's 0 one day and 45 the next, it's hard to have kids prepared, and I get that too. So in the classroom, we're working hard to make up ground on all of our assessment areas before the end of the year, get as much work as we can. Before Thanksgiving, Cara Beach was here to get some work done. with the science of reading. She was here again today. And last week, Lynn Selking was also here from AEA to work with math interventions. We have a plan going forward with that, moving on to the second half of the year. Just some new tools to use and ways to get kids where they need to be. It's not a magic wand, it's gonna take some work, so we're gonna keep working. Maintenance wise, the door sensors are done at the elementary. We have a new screen in the office that we can access the cameras from that. When the doors open and close, we can see what doors open and for how long. So anytime a door opens, it turns red, and when it closes, it turns green again. So it's pretty easy to tell what's going on in the building without even, being necessarily in front of the door. So a good feature. We're still learning and getting used to it, but it'll be nice to have. The best part about that is we see a door open, we can then go right to that camera that's closest and see what's going on. So if we have any concerns, we can get to it right away and we don't have to wait around. Every month I'll give you our Character Strong update. December is focused on empathy, understanding and connecting with other people's feelings and emotions. All the classrooms have been working on this and will continue to do so. As always, if there's any questions about what this curriculum looks like and the contents of it, we're happy to share with anyone that wants to see it. The holiday season's always crazy, but there's tons of distractions in the school. The kids are super excited with this time of year, but we'll try to have fun and get our business done while we're there too. So that's where we're at.
Questions?
I have a question, not really directed at your report or whatever, but I was asked as a booster member about some reading eggs that does pre-K use that? And they had asked if the boosters would be willing to pay the annual subscription, which I think is
boosters?
yeah, I think it was very odd because I don't know, it's only $500 a year. So do they use it? Is that something that they need? Like, do we need to pay? Like, can somebody explain?
We've done it every year, but there's also the increased, the gold assessment is a curriculum cost that they have every year. The reading eggs is something that they have one thing now, this is an additional thing. I think we've gotten the price down to like $360. Anyway, it's not a requirement, it's just something that they like to use to get the kids on the computers. We're trying to find some other funding for it. I don't think it's a booster.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, but then I was like, well, it was just weird that if they need it, like, do we need to get it for them, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Could you? Yes. Is that something that the boosters should be doing? I don't think so. They might not like that answer, but I don't think that's what the athletic boosters are.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily either, but I mean, we do want to help the kids, right? So,
and we're trying to find. There's some glad you said something.
But to me, I mean, like $500 doesn't seem like a ton of money.
It isn't, but our pre-K budget is not.
So that's what I wasn't sure how all that works either.
And this is one of those things like with that Mike mentioned with the 0.5 funding, that doesn't directly correlate to funding line items that are for that, but that's one of the reasons why we need pre-K fully funded. It doesn't necessarily correlate, but it helps.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. I won't know without asking.
Is that something we've funded in the past though? And how long
I
have we
think
funded
maybe,
that?
like,
And where have
once
we
I don't
funded
know.
it from?
Those are all good
Someone else.
questions.
Someone else got asked too, another organization.
Yeah.
PTO.
Oh, okay.
So, I guess just try to find the source and see if we
And
can solve the
I'm
problem.
digging trying to, what we've taken it out of is like our general supply money, or we've taken it out of curriculum, but curriculum takes a huge hit every year with school-wide and district-wide curriculum costs. And I just don't want to strap us for the entire year because of a computer program that 4-year-olds are on. I think there's things that we can find that don't cost, but if I can find the money and use it from somewhere more responsibly, I'm going to keep digging. So, but I want to be responsible about it too.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Those are all questions that I was,
The cost of every curriculum that we get and every subscription for everything gets higher every
I know
year.
it. It
And
does.
we're kind of at the same amount of funding every year, so it's harder to get things. And we don't have all the so-called free COVID money that we were able to,
Mhm.
we didn't have to really think
Yeah.
about. And that, we got used to that and that is gone now, so.
yeah, for sure.
Tighten things up a little bit.
Any other questions? All right, okay, middle school, high school building is hosting their annual winter concerts starting next week. December 16th is gonna be for the high school, and that one's gonna start 7 p.m. And on the 17th, that's the middle school one, that's at 7:15 p.m. That was a little change of time there, so, Monday, Tuesday next week, they'll both be in the auditorium. Want to give a shout out to, and it's great that they're both here, Brandon and Shannon for helping out Phil 6th grade music this second quarter. They have been able to incorporate technology into the classroom using AI. Brandon, I think, had too much fun with that. But they also brought some guest performers in for the 6th grade students as well. Mr. Peterson was one of them. The fear is that they've raised the bar too high for me because I got the next 3 weeks I'll be covering, so wish me luck on that. But to fill in and do that, that's just first period every day. I mean, as you know, like when you're in a building or whatnot, the mornings are busy. And so it's like, oh yeah, I have to teach. And so, so for them to already have a busy schedule to do that, that's great. It's great. They're putting kids first, so that's awesome. Last week, middle school, high school staff had a training session with Megan Farrell from our GPAEA, refreshing us about UPAR. UPAR is a tool that helps us find out how students like to read. It may be reading yourself, listening to a human reader, or text-to-speech. UPAR gives us the data that shows us how well students comprehend what they read and the mode that they do it in best. The Department of Education will have a press release when they already had that, right, Shannon?
For the UPAR.
Yep. And the Google read and write for no cost.
That part we're waiting on.
We're waiting on that yet. Yep. So the first step is to qualify to apply for this and administer the UPAR. This is something that was done last year and is administered with most all of 6 through 12. Is that right, Shannon? Mm-hmm. Graders and 5th graders. So, and Shannon's got a handout for that.
So these are the results that we came up with before, kind of the week before Thanksgiving. I went to the middle school English or reading classes, and then Miss Boston and Mrs. Atkinson brought the high school English classes into the auditorium, and the kids watched a little video about what UPAR is, what its purpose is, how to take it, and then they took them back to the classrooms and they administered it. So the kids get around 3 to 4 passages to read. It starts them with the text-to-speech option. They choose their grade level, so it's that grade level text, and then depending on how they do with the comprehension questions that follow, it may bump them to a grade level, still use the accommodation. When it kind of maxes them out on that, then it has them do an independent read to see how they do with their independent reading skills. So this sheet that I just shared with you, the top part is our total district data. We did not get every single student tested, but we got a good majority of them. So of the 263 that we screened, 42% or 110 students would benefit from that accommodation. That's useful for us. When it comes time for ISASP testing, we can set those tests so that they can have text-to-speech accommodation, whether they have an IEP or a 504. Kids can either, even though they're proficient readers, they can access grade level or higher content, or the time. I have a kid that just takes a long time to read. She can read, she can comprehend, but it just takes her a long time to get through text. So having this accommodation where they can listen to it be read to them kind of closes that gap and speeds up that process. So overall, there's our data. It kind of tells you, the color code tells you where they're at. The purple are the independent readers. They don't necessarily need the accommodation, but it may help them kind of access that grade level or higher text a little faster. The green exceed their grade level. The blue got to the grade level with the accommodation. The orange took them above their independent reading level. The yellow kids would benefit from that time. It would help speed the process up. And then the red are no benefits. And that might be the kids didn't read enough passages to get a good read. It tells us the amount of time it takes kids to read the passages and the amount of time they spend on questions. Some of the kids in the red were pretty darn quick. So we know that maybe the effort wasn't there. We can go back and ask them to retest. We did ask, so the teachers looked at this data last week. Their kids that are the blue and green kids that the accommodation would benefit, their AAT teachers are going to have those conversations with kids and share their data so that they're aware of this. Once the state gets the read and write passed through and we can have access to that, we have the free version right now, but it's not full like we did last year, then teachers can kind of not modify, but accommodate their assignments so that they can have text read, things like that that's going to kind of help in the classroom setting. So then it just breaks it down. Like we said, the blue, yellow, and green, that read aloud accommodation would benefit. And then if you flip it over on the back, it breaks it down even more. The orange are the kids that would benefit with the accommodation and also some interventions, which is something we're also trying to work on at the secondary level. And then the red needs some intensive interventions. Again, the data might not be completely accurate because they didn't do a full battery of readings, or we don't know what their true level was. And then the purple are those independent readers. So it's good data to have. There's no law like with the ISASS that says you have a certain number, but if the state were to come say, why do you have so many tests set to the text to speech? I think we have the data that says this is what's best for kids and this is what we have, so that's why we're doing it. So I know as a parent, I'm going to be one that, because we have parents that can request that as well. I already, looking at the data last week, I had a teacher parent say, email me, I would like my students' test set of that. Absolutely. You know, we know our kids best. I'm going to do the same for my kids as well, because I know that's what helps them. So it's good stuff.
Lastly, for me, coming to the end of the first semester, we got one more week before break and then 2 weeks after. We're starting to have discussions in our building about maybe ending our semester before break next year. It's kind of hard when you take a 2 week break and then you got to come back and remember stuff for just 2 more weeks, right? And with that too, you know, you talk about maybe we can do some different types of how we end the semester, like if it's testing project-based or whatnot, just preparing our kids for the next level. So that's something, I've done this in the past, and you're not going to have that true number of days per semester. It might be a little bit off, but at the end of the day, if you start thinking about the second semester, we do have some days off with Easter and you know, obviously snow happens then too. So second semester does kind of get a little bit shorter than normal anyway. So that's just something we're going to start kicking around and we'll have in our minds for next year. So yeah.
Questions, comments?
Okay.
Are you casting, Shannon?
I will be in just a second. Last month, when I wasn't here at the board meeting, I was taking a team of teachers, Mrs. Marshall, Mrs. Brown, Mr. Horton, Mr. Cruz, and then Mrs. Bartonhagen also joined us. We went to Johnston for a conference on brain and behavior training put on by Character Strong, which is our SEL curriculum providers. They talked about the SERVE model. We actually kind of had a version of this training a couple of years ago. It was one of the first they did, so they've obviously improved it since then. But it had some good points in there, some good steps. One of the things that stuck with me the most is that intentional start at the beginning, that you're greeting kids at the door, you're making those connections with kids. So as I've been teaching music, we've been doing some relational activities kind of to start things off. Not music related, but getting to know the kids in that way I think has been very beneficial. Some upcoming recent and upcoming PD we've had. June Morgan has been here from the AEA to work with our pre-K teachers on that gold assessment. Luann Bryant presented to the K-12 staff on some STEM activities that the public library has to offer. We've had some classroom teachers that have taken advantage of that. Megan Brown's been doing some things with her classes. Dana Kinsey's checked out some touring boards, which were pretty cool. I got to go in and watch and see how they and he's, if you don't know, he's one who broke Nazi codes during World War II. And so kind of setting up the codes, but with actual pieces, it's really neat to watch. And the kids did great with it. So she was here to present. The high school staff has been working on their program of studies to prepare for the next school year already. We talked about Megan Farrell being here for the UPAR data. Tracy Jarrett has been back again to do a little deeper dive with the 3rd through 5th grade staff on the open-sided curriculum. As we'll talk about here in just a minute, the science is now a part of our performance profile. Our science scores are, so we really got to get 3rd through 5th grade to start with, get that science instruction shored up. So we got to look to find, our biggest barrier right now is going to be the time, trying to find time to consistently have quality science instruction at the upper elementary. Care of Each, like Brett said, has been here through structured literacy. Today, the secondary staff worked on the DCAP, the District Career and Academic Plan, and adding their pieces to that, kind of the first step. This is something that's due later in the spring, but they started looking at their side of that. And then next Wednesday, the staff reindeer games will take place. They do some competitions with holiday games. It can get kind of cutthroat, but they have a good time. It's kind of a nice way to ease our way back into the break that's coming up. The last thing, I know last month Mr. Peterson talked about the Iowa School Performance Profile. I'm just going to show just a little bit more on that. Those scores were released earlier this fall. They have changed the system a little bit, so you can see the points are different. And when we get to some future slides, you'll see previous year scores. They were a lot lower for those total points earned. But this is how they're broken apart now. So each school gets a rating, falls into a rating category, and it kind of breaks it down, the percentage and then the points that are earned. And I will share this with all of you when we're done tonight. The state average this year was a 60.95%. The elementary and middle school score gets broken down. It's pretty similar to the way it was before. You see that the chronic absenteeism was added because that's been a big area of emphasis this year. So that part has been added. It also has the proficiency in the ISS scores, ISS tests that we take, and also the growth. So those are kind of their main focuses at elementary and middle school level. At the secondary, same for the proficiency and growth for all areas, English, language arts, math, and science. The chronic absenteeism is also there. And then the post-secondary, or the graduation rates are still there. The post-secondary readiness has changed a little bit. They used to focus on the ACTs and SAT scores. Now they're focusing more on the work-based learning. How many kids are taking college classes at the high school level. So that's kind of a shift there. And we shared that with teachers today when we were talking about our DCAP plan, because that work-based learning plays right into that. So this is where the elementary fell. They fell in the acceptable category, which is great. You can see we are just slightly below the state average, but not too far. We did have some growth from last year. It's kind of hard to compare because they were looking at different things, but you can see just a little bit of growth there. The middle school was also acceptable. Again, slightly below the state average, but not by far. A little over a point. But again, pretty similar, a little bit more than where we were last year. The high school then was commendable. So they were above state average by not quite 2%, or a little over. So we got some good things going on there. So definitely, I mean, none of the ratings that we earned require that ESSA support, but it doesn't mean that we can just coast. I mean, we're obviously going to keep working on the areas we know we need to work on. You can break these down into further to see where our lowest areas were and such. So there's the website. If you want to look at it, you can go up and search any school in the state and see where their scores are. But then I'll share this with you so you have access to it as well. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Shane. Brandon?
Yeah, I got, Tony already got the concerts upcoming Monday and Tuesday of next week for the high school on Monday, junior high on Tuesday. Junior high is going to be at 7:15, high school will be at 7. Just a couple of things. One, activity-wise, want to congratulate the Palms team. They went to state dance last week. They came home with a Division I rating. They did not place in their category, but Division I rating, it'd be kind of like getting a Division I rating for band. So, you know, they worked really hard, and they need to be recognized for that. So if you see any of the girls or Coach Hathaway, make sure you just let them know that you appreciated their efforts, because it was a very, very good improvement. They had a lot more girls out this year too, which helps. When they went to state last year, they didn't have as many girls. So anytime that you have more, we're doing the right things. Just a couple of updates overall for me. The Hall of Fame class of 2024 has been selected. I'm not going to share those names with you at this time because I haven't had a chance to reach out to them, and one of them is going to be difficult to probably get a hold of, but we're going to do our best and see if we can get them here. We're going to probably do those inductions in the spring and the summer, so that more fitting toward what sport or activity they were involved in. So I have contacted one of the three so far, or the family of one of the three, but I have not got the other two. So as soon as I have them contacted and that information is in their hands, then I will share it with the board as well. Trophies are in the process of being moved. So the new trophy case, perfect size, because we've basically filled it. Now that means we emptied a lot of other places in the building. We have a lot of organizing to do. I think I'm going to make one of our previous trophy cases for academics and then keep the athletics in the entryway. Haven't quite figured out how that's going to look yet. So if you see the signs on there, it says under construction. It's not because they're still building anything. It's because I haven't had a chance to organize it yet. So I put those on there so people don't think we just have stuff in random places and laying around. And it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to take a while to get it organized properly. And then the last thing I had was the Willard Howe wrestling tournament this week. A couple years ago, I moved the junior high. We moved the junior high meet to Thursday night so that we could kind of call it a junior high Willard Howe meet. And we have 4 schools that come: West Branch, West Liberty, Wilton. There's one more I'm not remembering right. Maybe Durant. I can't remember for sure. But there's 4 or 5 of us there. And we do that on Thursday night, and then we have the JV boys on Friday night. Then we have the varsity boys and girls on Saturday in opposite gyms, and then the little kids go on Sunday. My estimation is we probably had somewhere between athletes, spectators, officials, whatever, 1,200 to 1,500 people walk through our doors from Thursday until Sunday night. So it was big. I would say the gate was, in my 3 years, is definitely a record. The boys' gym the last couple of years didn't have quite as many people there. It was full this weekend. The girls' gym was completely full on the bleacher side, and I think parents, athletes, and finally figured out that we put the chairs on the other side. So you were able to move around in the practice gym this year. We are going to make a couple changes. One is we currently have 23 girls teams invited to the girls side, which is fine because we didn't have any brackets over 14, but we don't want to get a bracket over 16. So with the growth of girls wrestling, we can't keep risking that because we could end up in a 24-man bracket, which means they'd have to wrestle too much in one day. So in order to make that work, we're going to cut back to 16 girls teams, and then we may expand the boys to 16. We're kind of playing with that idea right now because we do have places we can put another mat if we had to. But all in all, it went smooth. The girls were done around 5:15, I think, on Saturday, which was significantly faster than last year. I don't know what time the boys got done. It was right around 6:45, I think. They were a little bit later than the girls this year, went a little bit longer, but that was because they had some really good matches. I mean, there was a top 5 matchup in the finals. Ended up being 1-0. It was a heck of a match to watch. So there was some good wrestling on Saturday. But overall, just the week in general, heard nothing but good things from people over and over again. And I don't want to take credit for any of that because I'm going to tell you right now, I might do a lot of planning for this, but whether it be the Wrestling Moms or the Tomahawk Club, it is not a one-man show. That it takes an army to put that on, and everybody that was involved, down to our janitors all the way up to the participants, did a great job getting that done. You can't even move those mats. I couldn't move those mats myself. I mean, without the kids doing that and the coaches, it would never happen. So, big shout out to Mark Kenny, who comes and helps with the track wrestling and put that stuff on and get it going, but also Brett Schaefer, he helped me tremendously. We were having a little trouble finding workers, and Brett was able to tap into some of his resources, and we got a few extra people as well. So there's a lot of people to thank, and I don't want to sit here and name them all. I'm just, in general, they deserve all the credit. They did a phenomenal job, so I appreciate their help.
I did hear, on that note, I did hear somebody from an outside school just complimented how well the tournament was ran and how the smooth things went, the facilities were great, so big kudos to everyone involved here.
I mean, it takes
It's
a lot of
nice to
people.
hear that from someone outside of our bubble, so.
That's why people are signing up to come to ours. I mean,
Right.
I can't think of the website, I got told today or on Facebook, but people commented about the food too, some of
Yes.
the best in the state. That's why more and more people are coming. I think the little kids had close to 290, 285, somewhere around there. That's what, you know,
Almost 300 kids.
more girls as well, so it's a lot of work. The same people you mentioned,
Yeah.
I was there for a lot of it, I saw it all. I was sore just standing and everybody's working, so it was great, it was wonderful.
I mean, I
Everybody
learned
did a good job.
I learned the first couple of years that I have to have a runner.
Yeah,
And
there's
I
a lot of runners.
Yeah, so I had 2 runners,
Yeah.
and I had to have someone who was a relief person so that they could go around and say, hey, you need to go to the bathroom, you need a drink, because their table workers are there all day.
It was great.
There's no way we could find double the table workers to do AM, PM. So they're there all day, but they get breaks. I mean, if they want one, they can get out for 10 minutes and come back or whatever, but we have to have people in place for that. So this year I was smart enough to, you know, bring a couple extra people, if you will. So, no, it
You're
was
gonna
good.
get this wrestling sport whether it kills you or not, right?
You liked it. You
I'll
liked
be honest with you,
it. You liked it.
I really like watching the girls wrestle. They get after
It's
it, man.
awesome.
It's good stuff.
The
But I also really like when you see them top 5 matchups. That was
Yeah.
exciting. 1-0. It's like a soccer game, right? But
Look at him, Illinois boy,
but it was
getting into
good.
wrestling.
it was good. I enjoy it. It was fun. I don't know if it's 13 hours fun, but but it's. I like those big matchups like that. And in our girls tournament, and that's one of the negatives of having to go down to 16, right? Is we have one of the first real girls. We had one of the very first real girls tournaments here. We had to invite 30 teams just to fill 12-man brackets. It's grown obviously, and some teams have moved on to other places because it was going to get too big, and we're just going to have to cut back. But some of that wrestling over there, if you look at state rankings at the end of the year, we probably have, in the last 3 years, quite a few state champions that have been here on that Saturday in the girls' side. So it's a big deal. So when I had to send out the email yesterday saying, hey, look, you know, teams that bring the boys' teams are obviously going to get first dibs because they're going to bring both teams. It just makes sense. But a lot of those schools are like, oh, I hope we can get in. You know, they're kind of bummed that we have to do it, but it has to happen. And all of them, every one of them said, we completely understand why you're doing this, because if not, it's just going to be too much. And like, yeah, I mean, Mark Kinney was excited to try a 24-man bracket if we had to do it, but I'm thankful we didn't have to do it. So,
If you wanna see some good organized chaos too, go to a Saturday or Sunday little kids wrestling tournament. It'll open your eyes pretty quick. It's controlled, organized. It's controlled, organized.
Anything else, Brandon?
I don't think so. That's all right. Anybody's got any questions?
All right, the steam traps are due to be serviced and replaced soon. We do this on a 7-year rotation, so the high school would be due, I think, this summer, and then in 2026 we would do the elementary. I think in years past, we usually buy the parts, and then Dave from Northwest Mechanical will come down and kind of assist us through that. We save a lot of money by buying the parts ourselves instead of going through them. Because they have to upcharge the parts and everything like that. Just some things to put on our radar. Elementary roof, the auditorium roof, and the shop building roof are all in need of being replaced. I think last winter we had some issues at the elementary with some leaking. And FFA room, I feel like at one time we had 12 different leaks going on. I've had them here to patch that up for now, but I'm just worried, down the road we're going to run into issues. Mainly with the auditorium with drywall. I don't want to see that. Let's go through what we did a few years ago with that leak we had, so. We'll just keep an eye on that for now, and then I had a rep come look at the elevator and survey what we have to see what we need to do to explore the upgrade. There's some minor things we might need to do to our control room, like electrical stuff, but there's nothing that, some local contractors can't take care of that issue, and then he's supposed to give me a kind of a quote of what that's gonna cost us, so. Hopefully I'll hear back soon on that.
Questions? Comments? Didn't we get some preliminary costs on that elevator at one time? Or didn't we have some kind of general idea what that was?
Yeah,
Maybe a couple years back?
Yeah, it was a couple of years back, and it was a total replacement cost.
That was a total replacement cost, and I remember being pretty.
And it
It was
sounds like,
6 figures, yeah.
it sounds like what they're, like we would keep the elevator cab or whatever, it's gonna be just like the electrical upgrades, and so what's there will stay, but we'll get all new buttons on each floor and everything like that. And mainly the requirements that they had were fire alarm related, so we should pass that. We shouldn't have to do anything for that, so.
Can we start exploring some grants for that, disabilities grants or?
They're expensive, but you have to have
AEA
it.
grant.
What was that?
I said, the elevators are expensive, but you have to have them.
Yeah, you got it. We got
Yeah.
the choice.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you. All right, personnel matters.
Can somebody explain to me what the deal with Diane Ball is?
Retired and rehired?
Because she's retired twice now.
So, this is it. She retired at the end of April, and IPER says you gotta stay out of IPER's recovery employment for 4 months.
Okay.
What she thought was 4 months was day to day, not, it's calendar months. So she retired in April, so the first calendar month didn't start till May, June, July, and August.
Okay.
She started back to work around the first day of school, which she met her 4 months if you went calendar days.
Correct.
And when we reported wages, IPER said, wait a minute, that shouldn't have happened because she hasn't been out 4 calendar months yet. So she resigned her position. That was IPER's remedy to the situation. Resign your position for 30 days. No IPER's covered wages to be reported. Then we had to go through, we advertised for a driver. She's the only applicant. We rehired her. Life goes on. That's what happened.
All right. So she's probably not going to retire again, or
Probably
will
not.
she?
I don't know. Darren, someday she will, but
Well, yeah.
Never again.
Hopefully
But
not.
the seesaw should
Not
be
like
gone.
2 times in a year.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, it was just kind of a mess up.
she started back
I
about
had to
5 days too early. It caused a
Okay.
I had to do without her for a month. Which was unhandy.
So she can still technically retire again, this is under the cap for the amount that she can make.
Yeah.
Because they raised it, right? They kept it.
She wouldn't hit it in the original cap.
Can't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
30,000.
Okay.
So she'll be good. And I don't know if she must be drawing her retirement because that's why you gotta stay out of that restriction.
Right.
So she should be good.
Yeah, she wanted to be able to draw.
That's what
That's what brought the whole thing.
that's what I was guessing.
And that was the remedy to the situation, other than potentially losing her retirement.
Well, I personally feel like we need to keep her as a bus
Yes.
driver.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I understand, but I thought it was a little crazy when she resigned again.
Well, it's like Eric said, they thought they had it
Yeah.
figured out because she retired before school was out, thinking that by the time school started she'd
be okay.
but she wasn't quite. So
Gotcha.
that's what happened.
All good.
Your all's alarm?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'll make a motion to hire 1 through 6 for the personnel
Second.
hires.
Motion second, all in favor? We got it in.
Did we do something with Tyler T last month?
No, he was
Did
wanting.
we
I
talk
had,
about
I had
him?
sent you out a message saying
Oh,
that Tyler wanted.
He's
Okay.
been present, but not did
Yeah.
more or less not.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Resignations.
We only have the one, Phoebe Brand, who was a high school paraprofessional. So she has submitted her resignation, and I think it's in the packet.
Motion to accept the resignation.
Motion second, all in favor?
Hi.
New business, election president advice.
Eric, do you wanna call for
Sure,
nominations?
we've got nominations for president.
I make a motion for Brandon to continue as president.
Second.
Any other nominations?
Do we wanna talk about rotating out every so often? Do you think that that's wise?
I think we just do it every December. Isn't that how it?
Every
It
year
is.
you do
I
it.
mean, if you, there's different theories here, but I think the school board association would tell you it's prudent to rotate it, but it's totally up to the local board.
Unless somebody else wants to have that spot. And if the current people want to stay, I'm fine with it. I have no
I think
interest,
at least
I'm not talking
for the
about
next
myself.
year, I
I
think-
have things to do.
I'm very good for the next year. I have no ambition to go for a very long time, if that makes sense. I don't wanna be the
I just
Joe
think it,
Biden of
right, and I think it,
politics.
we were in a situation a long time ago where you had the same person over and over and over and over and over again, and not saying that you're doing a terrible job, right, but it just isn't, it seems to be like we probably need to not get in that same.
I have no ambition to do it for a very long time.
I would like him to continue for right now. I think we're in a good place, and I mean, you've done a lot of legwork.
I
For a
try
day,
behind
like-
the scenes, and as some of the people know in here, my
You've probably saved
phone
me
gets
from
answered quite
You've
often.
probably saved me from a lot of emails. I think you're good. I think you're a good person for
I'm
this
not,
position.
I'm not
at this
perfect,
time.
but I
Yeah.
sure try behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you'll have to do that, Eric.
What's that?
You'll have to do that.
Yeah. Is there any other nominations? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so good. All right. For vice president, any nominations?
Anybody interested?
I don't care. Either way.
Gary, want to get your feet wet?
No. Not yet.
I'll nominate Kenny for vice president.
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go. All right, consideration approved list of, sorry, that's all I just cross it off.
Brandon, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa? That you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of President in Wapello Community School District as now and directly required by law?
Yes, sir.
Kenny, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa? That you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Vice President in Wapello Community School District as now and hereafter required by law?
Fundraisers, back there.
I believe it.
One?
Just one. I want your student council doing some candy canes.
Motion to approve the fundraiser.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. Consideration approved board policies.
All right, you have 900 through 902 series. These deal with public relations, everything from news media to broadcasting and videotaping. According to IASB, our language is up to date. So if you don't have any questions, I would recommend that you approve them for another cycle.
I'll make a motion to approve, can we do them all together? Like, board policies 900 through 902.4.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Consideration approved designations.
These are the same designations that we've had in the past. Eric, are the depositories the same, or have you adjusted
No, it's the
those?
same.
Okay. So we're just asking that you renew things the way they have been.
We do need to make one change. I do believe that it's now Hickman, Matthews, and Parsons.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Interesting.
Just one minor change, that'd be the other one.
Explain the depositories. I know you do it every year
Yeah,
for me, but
so
we can go up to that
We can go up to
amount.
that limit in that financial institution. Those are all set high enough, so if you go over that amount, you get a comment in the audit report. So the auditors encourage us to set those at this level, knowing that, that should give us sufficient space to.
What's the
ISJIT is the investment account that we have through the School Board Association. Typically, they have paid slightly better interest than local banks, but the local banks have matched what they're paying, so, trying to think what else.
I know you explain it to me every year.
We do have some money that goes from our online, like lunch sales, and registration. Anything we swipe a card for goes to ISJIT, just to keep money moving in and out of everybody, so.
So do we need to do?
Oh, you need a motion, right?
Yes.
Do we need to do them separate, or what's the proper
You can do them
way?
all.
I'll make a motion to approve the designations for attorney, newspaper, and depositories.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Alright, discussion, potential consideration, approved purchase of storage pods.
You had asked about this, last meeting, we had discussed this at least one other meeting, maybe a couple. And then when we were looking the previous time, I shared that information with Todd Ernest, who by his Serve Pro shop, he got lots of them lined up out there. So I asked him where he gets them, what he looks for. He gets what they call a one-off. It's only been shipped one or two times, brought back in, usually repainted, repaired. They're watertight. And he looked, he does have some from his supplier that you could get for about $3,500, a 20-footer, delivered right to where we want to set it. Then I went out and looked for another 20-footer just online. I didn't have any other connection. Closest company I found, at least online, was one out of Chicago that has a depot in Chicago that they could bring in the same one-off. Their price is about $4,200 delivered to us. And I think the thought was to put this between the auditorium and the practice gym in that.
Alcove,
Yeah.
cubby, whatever you call it.
Corridor there.
Doors close enough to the building where you can pretty much just come right out, up a ramp and get in.
No issues with fire marshal putting something like that there,
We haven't checked on that.
in and out, access.
I don't think that'd be a
We make sure all of that's good before we put it in.
I wonder where Ernest, like Todd, purchased all his, We purchased one a couple years ago, and it was about that price. I remember right, 35, 38 delivered somewhere in there. I know he has a bunch too, and I wonder where he picked his up at. Instead of going clear Chicago, I was surprised he didn't find him someplace closer, but.
His all look the same, so he must have the same supplier and.
Right.
Nice.
Well, his is $3,500 delivered in, did you say?
Yes. And he said he would help get it placed and.
Yeah, it's cheaper than.
The cost on that one showed it at $2,899, but then if you look at
Yeah,
the
the
checkout,
delivery and.
it wasn't on there, and we're guessing that's just a shipping difference.
I did send an email, but I didn't get a response today to see what.
Yeah, because they're not gonna deliver it for free.
It'd be logical, but it said nearest depot is Chicago, but I wasn't sure if pick up or, I don't know. Delivery looks like it'd be $4,200 or close to it. So his is cheaper, it's cheap.
To answer your question, I think I always love to do some figuring. I don't know that you can just open the doors and, wheel the cart in. You may have to have some kind of walkway there.
Right.
I know what you were getting at, but I think we're gonna have to be far enough back to give them an egress to.
Right. And I think that's the best place to do it, because you got staged it right.
Right.
And there's a camera back there too, that consideration, so. I just don't want a bunch of stuff piled beside it, look like crap, and I want it organized.
What's your thought, Cody?
My one concern, kind of in that area, the boiler room is underneath
That's
that.
what I was.
And the concrete is in really, really bad shape. So my concern is when they back the truck up to put it there, there's a major gas line right there too. So if that all collapses, it's gonna hit that gas line.
Somebody told us in the past, and I just couldn't remember why we shouldn't do something. That might
I don't remember what else we were gonna put there. We were gonna expand the wrestling room there. That's when the conversation got brought up. So this might not be that much of a wait, but.
The old cold room underneath, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, so like the boiler room sits in there for that extra.
Is there anywhere else that it can be placed? I mean, there's really not any others
To make it accessible.
to make it accessible. I mean,
Easily accessible.
Is
yeah.
there one that uses it to bring stuff in and out commonly? Is that what we're talking about from
Well, I mean-
auditorium stuff, or what are we?
Most of the time, like the chairs or the tables and things like
Okay.
that, that's where they're going, right? Right now, they're
Yeah.
in that same area.
Okay.
So you would add a couple steps to get outside, obviously, but be a heck of a lot closer than if you put it anywhere else around the building. Because that's where we use those chairs, right? Like
Yeah.
the auditorium or the gym or.
It's 20 foot long. I know when they unload those, the truck that they brought to us ramps out and they set it, they drive away. So the truck really doesn't get on top of possibly that. And that thing, if you actually push back, because usually it's got big rollers on the back, wheels on the front, maybe you could keep the weight off because the pod itself probably wouldn't be a problem. And it could be moved if there was a problem down the road where we needed to have something fixed or the concrete redone there or whatever, you know, you can drag it out of the way.
Does that underneath there go all the way to the practice gym? I don't remember.
You can, if you go back in that area, you can see where there's been a big X painted, and that's kind of where that area is. I don't know how far back it goes.
I don't think it goes clear to the gym, it's probably 20 feet
Yeah.
to the south.
Well, like, and where they added the gym on, there's newer concrete there. Maybe we could put it there, maybe?
As close as you could to
Yeah,
the
to
gym,
the
I
newer
guess.
Yeah,
gym.
on
So-
the newer side.
I mean, my whole idea of this is just I hate walking in there and seeing everything stacked in that auditorium.
Yeah.
To where we
Well,
could I mean, as a junior high basketball coach, we could utilize that auditorium for
don't
practices.
you have a lot of, is that, what's in that concession stand for
All
the
the
new
seasonal
gym?
sports stuff. So uniforms, the cameras for track, Gatorade, just the things that we use seasonally, and like all the tournament and track meets and all that. I have them all in boxes, and then when it's time for the season, I pull it out, and then when it's over, then I take it back in there. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just one thing that we have in our, or lack of in our building, is we just do not have storage
No.
at all. Our closets are small and they're all full of stuff. I've cleaned out the gym closets every summer for the last 3 years, and it's still too much stuff. And you couldn't fit the things that we're talking about in those closets anyways.
Right,
Um,
right.
But yeah, that little concession stand is literally full of just activity and athletic stuff that we pull out seasonally as we need it and put it back in there and take it out and put it back in there. So
I think if we did, we could find somewhere safe for it.
I think it's
I mean,
needed.
if it can't go there, then I don't feel the need to purchase it if it can't go there. In my
Because we need to
opinion.
be able to use the auditorium
For
for
the
other
ease of
things.
it.
I mean,
Do we have prints or anything available to kind of see that?
Everything we got is digital format.
should we look at that and then
How
come
about-
back to this next
Well,
month?
how about we put a condition on it?
Yeah, we
If
could-
it's
yeah.
stable, let's buy it.
Okay.
Or well, you guys decide, but that'd probably be the most logical.
Cody, if we can get a good spot to set it, you think we're all right?
Yeah.
Or against that gym where there's new concrete and we're out of the X maybe?
Yeah.
I'll kind of
Just kind of check it first. And, I mean, we can put that down that, hey, we're gonna purchase this as long as we can put it there.
Perfect. That's a motion.
That's a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Whether you
Close
want
enough, because I don't want to have to repeat it.
All right.
For like what we want to put.
Motion to approve elementary walks and hardware.
All right, in your package, you have a quote from Walsh Door Security. This is the same vendor who is taking care of the project at the high school. When we did that, we went through the 3 bid process. We had an outside firm who collected that for us, evaluated them. Walsh was by far the low bid, and that's why we went with them to also expand into the elementary. This will get all of the elementary doors cohesive. You know, right now we have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. We'll get everything taken care of. We'll get the key system organized. The total bid is there, $15,052. We have approval to use the state safety grant money for this, so we have a funding stream for it as well.
Good to go. The only thing I saw on it, I forgot to email you,
Yes.
is the tax, there is tax on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get that
Okay.
tax taken off.
So it'll be just
The 14.
14,000, or 14,2.
This needs to happen.
I make a motion to approve the elementary lots and hardware.
Motion second, all in favor?
Alright, thank you.
Next up, school bus talk purchase.
Darren, you want a bus?
Sure.
When we paid off those buses last year, really should have been purchasing another one, but we delayed it until this year to put back a little bit of money. We directed Darren to go out and get the bids, and Bluebird is the only one that comes back with a gas engine. That's why you only have one in front of you. So, pretty similar to what we buy, 77 passenger gas motor.
Yeah, well, they're pretty spec'd out pretty much the same way as what we bought, the last 4 or 5 we bought. I mean, there might be some slight differences and they change rules and regulations sometimes, little things like that, but,
It's not chrome wheels and
no, it's nothing fancy. It's pretty much just what you have today.
Heated seats.
only
There's
driver.
also, in that bid, I didn't tell you, Art, but it's in there they will install whatever camera system that we decide
I
we
didn't
want.
see that.
So are we getting rid of, we did get rid of one, did you say?
No, we paid them all. We had an
Paid them
outstanding
off.
loan. We were going to refinance them, or we would have traded one in and got a new one and refinanced, but the interest rates were not favorable. Had a loan at 1%, they wanted 7%.
Yeah.
So we just paid him off and delayed his purchase by a year, knowing we could probably just pay for it in cash when it's delivered and not have to finance it again. And then this will get us on a rotation, so we would buy a bus in this fiscal year. Next year will be a smaller vehicle, whether it's a pickup or a van or car, and then back to a bus. So just keep a little bit of age between these route buses, so we're not running into the problem we had the last time where we just delayed purchasing them for years and bought 4 at once.
That last batch, we leased 3, really not intending to keep all 3 of them, but prices have gone up so much. And like Eric said, the interest rates weren't really favorable anyway, so we end up, original plan was maybe keep 2 of those, turn one in, and then, lease another one, but we end up not doing that just because it's just like everything else, when COVID came along, buses went just crazy, and we had a bus that it didn't have that many miles on it. It kind of doesn't make much sense to turn it back in and then pay, extra 30 grand for the next one.
Right.
So,
Because they had given us a guarantee price when we bought those for considerably less than what these cost. So we would have lost.
Yeah.
And so now the oldest one out of the original 5 will be the one that will go to a spare, and we'll get rid of the oldest spare.
Right.
One that's in the least desirable condition, I guess.
Yeah, well, if we get a new one, I'll get rid of one. Expecting we'll get rid of one.
But it's gonna be another few $1,000s. It's not gonna be $20,000. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, they don't bring much money, the old ones, so.
yeah.
We had a pile of minibuses sitting around, those brought pretty good money. But
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to purchase the school bus.
What's the estimated
Delivery.
time delivery? Did you
He
have that
thought
somewhere you thought?
late June, early July.
Yeah. Well, he said they might get it as soon as May at the dealership, but I've been through that too. That doesn't mean anything because they're slow getting them out to people, or they have been in the past. But yeah, he said it'd be before, probably July at the latest.
And I told Darren as long as it came in before the end of August, we can accrue those costs back to this current fiscal year. So
The other thing about Thomas and International, which would be the other 2 companies, is they're like a year and a half out on everything they're building. So can't get one from them anyway.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor? Opposed? consideration to trade Kubota tractor for side by side. So a little back history, 2 years ago, we purchased the tractor for $30,000 with all the attachments. So 2 years later, it's $5,000 each year, so $10,000 technical loss for trading. We have the Kubota side by side at our sheriff's office, just almost identical to what's posted here. It does a pretty darn good job.
What is the thought process of having this and why, I guess, is my question.
Well, the tractor's really not getting used, first of all. You got a lot of money in that tractor, and it's got, how many years have we had it?
Two.
Got 45 hours on it. So, I mean, I wasn't behind the buying the tractor. That was Rich's deal when he was here. He thought he was going to get a lot of good out of that tractor, but that hasn't proven to be the case, really.
Is it because it's too small?
It's just
it doesn't have the functionality.
I had asked Eric the same question,
Yeah.
what was, and he just said, like, it doesn't have any power.
We tried to offload it.
I'm not questioning getting rid of the tractor. I'm wanting to know why we want to get a
The
side by side.
Sure.
No push.
They think they can, I think we can push snow with it a lot better than the tractor. Tractor had a little bitty blade and a brush that really didn't work very well. And I think this side by side will be better for pushing snow, and it'll be better. I figure we could probably put a spray tank in the back of it, like in the summertime when we're spraying weeds and such, we could use it for that. And, you know, I don't know.
Use it for track.
Yeah, that's another thing. You know, we have a lot of equipment that goes back and forth. That I take my truck over and I run 50
I
laps
understand.
back and forth, and you know, if we can throw it in the back of something and drive it over there, football game, setting up for a football game.
My
On
point
the
is,
athletic
we've lasted
side.
for a lot of years
Right.
without one, so,
Right.
I mean,
I mean, the truth is, yes, with use of my truck.
Yeah.
So yes, it can be done, but it would be easier because I can't take my truck across the track.
agreed.
You know, so things like that. But
I
I
mean,
will.
when you go to other schools, yeah.
Any school you see them.
Most schools have
all
I mean,
over.
anywhere we went for football, you saw these guys coming and loading our stuff up, taking it out for us.
Yeah,
side
but
by
that may
side.
be the schools, or it might be
And
a parents that's using it at the
It's always it's the
school, I mean.
schools.
I think, who said sprayer? I think we do lower some spraying costs too if we can add a sprayer to it in the back.
So on this,
Well, we can do more at one time.
on this trade-in, is that the tractor only? What about the attachments with
Well,
the
that's all.
That's all.
That's with the brush, or with the broom too?
Brush, the forks, the box blade included too, or you keep it?
Yeah, that's everything.
Well, the forks would do no good. The brush wouldn't do any good for the Kubota.
No.
I didn't
I'm
know
not
if you were getting rid, or just didn't want a bunch of implements sitting around that if we need to trade them in, trade them in.
No, we won't. It'll all be gone. I went over once and talked to the salesman over there about it, and he's like, you know, he said this is a hard one because although it doesn't have any hours on it, it's still a couple years old, and I can't get the kind of money I can get for. You know, you can't price it too close to a new one, or people just buy the new one every time, and you never get rid of it. You know, that was his, which makes sense. You know, so he's gonna have to get it. Seems like
Probably
we're
2 years ago.
seems like we're losing a lot of money on it. But
What pool of money is this coming out of?
It'll have to come out of sales tax, sales tax.
It says straight blade. Is it hydraulic still running it?
it's just like one you put on your pickup.
Okay, and that's what we have to.
Yeah.
You don't want the cable and things.
Yeah,
That whole machine's hydraulic.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a
It's just like
miniature
ours.
version. Miniature
That's what
version
you
of
have.
what
It's
put on a
it's
pickup.
very
I think it's
very
a
nice.
6 foot length.
Kyle had indicated to me that he has gone through and measured all those parking bollards that Cody worked so hard to get put in and knows which ones he cannot fit that blade. Is it 5 foot blade?
Is it 5
blue
foot?
tape on
Is it 5 foot?
I wondered what that blue tape.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's his.
He's wrapped in
Those
blue
ones
tape.
I got
I saw that on there. I'm like,
I
I
got
don't
ran
know what that blue
into.
tape's for.
He's wrapped in blue tape. No, he can't fit that through there.
That makes sense.
It's not on that bid, but you also can get a V blade for that. It's more money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He told me how much more. I don't remember. I mean, maybe another $1,000 or something.
Cody, you're the one that has
Those
to,
things are.
your crew has to do the snow and beneficial. I know you borrowed Mark borrowed my dad's from time to time.
Yeah, and when we did that, it was pretty smooth sailing. The thing I didn't like about the brush with the tractor is you have to angle it right, otherwise you're blowing snow all over the front doors, which has happened. And I worry you throw a rock through a window, you don't even notice it.
Did it work in wet snow either very well? Just kind of.
No, not from what I observed.
Well, it ended up all torn up last spring, and I had
Yeah, it broke.
to buy a bunch of parts. Well, Kubota warranted the parts, and I fixed it. They ended up giving me the parts, which it was a lot of parts.
I think it's
Some
gonna
kind of
be- I think it's gonna be
you know,
all year, not just snow. I just think you guys will use this.
I was just gonna
All over-
say,
all over
I mean,
the-
it's
Yeah, I think
an
you'll find
all-around utility versus what
I
the
think you'll
tractor.
find uses
There
for
are
it you didn't
times-
even thought of, and
There are times at the baseball and softball field, it gets too wet, you can't take that lawn tractor out there, and I have to go over and get the big red tractor, and most of our coaches don't know how to drive that big red tractor, so I have to do it for them. They could grab this and, hey, I'm gonna drag the nail drag with this, and then I'm gonna put it back and I'm gonna use the other tractor. That's a whole other conversation about that tractor over there that we got.
well, yeah, we talked about dragging ball fields with it, but then we also talked about when we
Yeah.
wanted to really use it for good.
Yeah, you don't want it to be over there full time as
No.
a dragging fields, but if you get a super rainy day, it could be used for that versus going
We
with a
can
big
pull the
red
roller
tractor,
with it.
Sure.
which might do more damage than good when you're trying to drag.
What do you pull that roller with it, the tractor?
That tractor has to pull the roller. You couldn't pull that with it.
Where is it?
Yeah, you could. Schaefer pulled it with his
That big
side
roller,
by side, yeah. We used it out at the youth league fields and Schaefer pulled it with his side by side.
Went
that
through
5 footer.
4 belts, but you made it.
Oh, you did pretty good with it.
I wouldn't want to
I wouldn't do that with that.
I
I'm
dragged
just
I
saying.
dragged the little kids field with mine, but I don't know about bigger roller, but this will have a lot of uses.
Eric, is there a save fund in a place
I
where
bet this thing will pull.
this could be handled?
It would. I just
I mean, that's my concern is this is not, I mean, this is more of
It's a want.
want, not a
It is.
need.
There's no other
And I think that
something
tractor was
pressing
a
that we
want
need.
and not a
Probably,
need, and it's not doing us any good where
agreed.
this would be, I mean, if we're gonna purchase this is gonna be a better all-around
I told
want.
Sarah one of the first loads of Chromebooks that came on a semi. We thought, oh, we'll unload it ourselves. We get the tractor, put the forks on, we'll you pick them up. So you got to call the city,
Yeah.
and and the city's very accommodating to us. Every time we call, they're willing to let us either use their equipment or they'll come do it for us. So, like Darren said, it's just not getting used.
I'll just be honest with y'all, when the community sees that the school bought a side-by-side, we all are gonna have to be ready to answer some questions.
I feel comfortable with what Eric has told me and kind of like the discussion, because that was my original thing. I was like, why are we getting a tractor? But knowing that, I do feel like this can be used for year
I
round.
do all over. all kinds of
Spraying,
maintenance
pushing the
work,
snow, maintenance work.
Yeah.
trees, bushes, spraying, fields.
And I don't think,
Because, I mean,
I don't think that we have any extravagant amount of fancy equipment around here. I mean, in case you want, I mean, I think you could go to any school around us and they have better stuff than more of it. You know, Delman's got skid steers and, you know, they got all kinds of neat stuff over there. But, I mean, I don't
and
think
they don't
it's-
have our money pool.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't think anybody's gonna.
I make a motion to trade the tractor for those.
We do quite a bit, not very much out here.
And it's there already.
They had, when I got
Had
that
one,
bid, they had one.
Yeah.
They probably have to order the plow.
All right. Get a motion.
I'll second
Motion second, all in favor?
it. Aye.
Opposed? Consideration approved request school budget review committee for increased enrollment, open enrollment, and EL instruction.
These are three mechanisms that the state gives us to recapture some spending authority. Every year we ask you to approve the ones we're eligible for. This year we have these three, in addition to special ed, which you have already taken care of. Anytime we can recapture spending authority, we strongly ask that you do so.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to the school budget review committee for 1, 2, and 3.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Items for next meeting.
All right. Anything you can think of right now? that we wanna make sure we have included?
I can't think of anything necessarily for the next meeting, but I think maybe I know we just got done with the wrestling room, but I think we need to look at our high school kitchen.
Okay,
It's pretty cramped in there
Karen and I were talking about that
last night. I mean, I don't know how those lunch ladies operate in there, to be 100% honest.
sure.
It's pretty little.
Yeah, we can start some conversations about that.
With the, good things I heard about the wrestling room, the one thing they talked to me, or I had heard about was the bathrooms, like in the cafeteria area were just like very smelly and like they're pretty dingy. Not that I think we need like a full revamp, but just a little bit of updating or something like.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what we can really do, but yeah, like a facelift.
So that whole kitchen.
That whole
bathroom
area.
Section.
We've spent a lot of money
Yeah.
to make
Our
that all
facilities
look
are great,
nice.
like our gyms
And then we get into,
Yeah,
it was the same when I was in high school.
So you don't think anything of it?
No.
I can tell you
That's
that,
just what it's been.
that conversation comes up a lot. Yeah. Those bathrooms need updated. Yes.
And I don't think, they're not being cleaned or whatever, it's just.
Yeah, I think
they're old and
they're just
Say
old.
paint dividers, floorboard, or baseboard.
And I don't even know where to start with the kitchen, but it is small. And it's not like we have a ton of space to work with either, I understand, but I'm sure that those ladies would be appreciative if they could have a little bit of more
Open it up
space.
more, maybe the dividing area
Yeah.
between where they want. I don't know if you can do
I don't
that.
know,
There's
but-
not much room to go
Well,
either direction.
our concession stand storage area is bigger than our kitchen.
Yes. And it's full.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
It
And,
is.
and the
But
other
maybe it's
concession
a
stand
different
is
use
full
of
with, because we don't
what
have
that
space.
space is, you know?
Well, here's the other scenario to that. So we have a second concession stand that was built for the new gym that is being used for storage. Instead of being used for concessions that are taking up room where maybe you could expand that kitchen into that possibly. But then you have the problem of now where do we put that stuff?
That concession stand's so small, you couldn't put any kitchen in it.
You wouldn't get much concessions in
I
there.
think the problem we ran into years ago was it was a good idea to put that there, but then to get workers to work it has never happened. I mean, and there's nothing, you have to carry everything from one concession stand to the
You
other.
do, but I mean, if you, I think where Dave was going is
Right.
if you could use that back room
Right.
for
Oh.
kitchen and take some of that backroom stuff and move it to that other concession stand, then it frees up, but I'm not saying that's what you do.
Right.
It'll take some
But,
planning and looking over to
Yeah.
figure the space.
But let's start thinking about it.
yeah, I think it's something that we
Yep.
probably need to.
Okay.
Kitchen, bathrooms.
And I'm not
Bathrooms would
talking
be
like
the-
big money for the bathrooms.
Well, bathrooms, I think
No,
bathrooms we
but-
can figure out.
Like,
Well,
I
quicker
said
than the
it's
kitchen.
perfect to
I
face.
mean, I don't know what we spent on our restrooms out at the football field, but I mean, you're essentially talking about doing the same
A few
thing.
fixtures and a facelift will make a big improvement.
Exactly. I mean, hell, paint on the wall out there made it look better. I mean,
Actually, if you spit on the floor, it would look better.
Yeah, I just think with the new gym, the new wrestling room, like,
Yes.
we've made a lot of improvements out there, we need,
Brandon likes his decals. So it's
I know a guy.
If you buy one more decal.
I know a guy.
I need one for my computer.
Oh, I got those in my office. Just stop by.
Good gravy.
Brandon's gonna
We are
work
working.
proposal and start printing his own.
We are branded. We are beyond
do
branded.
we need to buy you a cricket for your office?
That won't do it.
Don't give them
I
ideas.
need one of those big Epsons.
Did we put new stalls in those bathrooms or not? Deep coating, you know?
Over there?
Yeah, in the main gym.
Oh, yeah, those have, like, the stalls are,
Stalls are fairly new, right?
yeah, they're fairly new.
That's right.
One thing we could do, I would say the floor is probably the worst.
Floors are pretty small.
It's
Probably
white, it's a white floor. and
Yeah,
I was gonna
everything.
say.
Whatever we did at the elementary and the new edition, I don't know exactly what they do, but I kinda like the way those floors have been. I mean, they don't show as much. Obviously, we're gonna have to find a way to
It's the same
transition, but
Epoxy.
Is it like that epoxy
Yeah,
stuff?
hallway, yeah.
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 Same as like the new ocean.
Even if you did 2 new urinals with a divider, It was enhance that
The
bathroom.
fighter.
And the men's, I haven't been in the women's. so
Well,
I
and I
don't
haven't been in the
have
men's, so.
Women's is pretty good.
They,
And you could add the divider between the two urinals, change those out, change the fixtures, figure out.
There's
the
also
flooring.
no diaper changes.
And it definitely needs a better wash thing.
We do have.
There's no room for
Think
men.
I know, but that is, I
but we
changed
should
that.
really,
We do have.
Yeah.
we should install
When
one.
you come in the entryway, there's two bathrooms right there.
Yes.
You should install holders and they have.
Yes.
Put one in each one.
You could put them in there.
I don't like to
Yes.
tell people that too much because I like this
I
stuff.
forget about
We
those.
can do that right
I
now.
forget about those.
The ones out in the hallway. Yeah, I didn't
Ones
know
out
those
in the new
existed until
hallway.
I put it.
The handicapped accessible ones.
I think that would be,
That's nice.
we need to figure out some fixture costs and things for that need improved and what we can do for the flooring. If you
Yep.
think that flooring, you'll get some plans on that, I suppose, figure out something.
Start with-
Start with the bathroom,
Those
and I think
things are-
that's doable, the kitchen's gonna take a little bit more to figure out.
You could fix some of those things.
Well, like a lot of the toilets, I've already rebuilt the flush valves and everything. So I think the toilets themselves are fine, but the urinals probably need to TLC.
Just remember, I
Get a
mean,
divider
there's
between them.
adults
Yeah.
and kids in
There
those
used to
bathrooms
be
all
one
day
there,
long, so.
the kids busted it off. So
Yeah.
you can get one.
And that's the public. part
They're,
of
they're a
our-
high traffic bathroom, both of
Oh,
those
absolutely.
in that area.
Yeah, 1,500 people went through them one weekend.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Most of them more than once.
Anybody else?
Big hours.
Items?
You can always send them to me if you can
Yeah.
come later as well.
I know we want to just do some more reviews every 6 months, like January is that other date, so.
Let's plan that, so.
Afterwards. Alright. Consideration to set date and time for next meeting.
The second Wednesday would be January 8th.
Is there nothing on the activities calendar for that day?
No, it's a Wednesday, so most Wednesdays we
I
do
know, but
6 p.m.
just-
We're good.
It's probably better or safe to ask.
You said January 8th, right?
Yep.
6 p.m., everybody good with that? I'm good with that.
Okay.
You're homing into my bedtime right now.
No, I mean,
It's been a long
it
day.
gets to be 8 o'clock at night. I'm like,
Wishing hour.
I make a motion for the next meeting for Wednesday, January 8th at 6 o'clock.
Second?
Second one.
Adjournment.
Adjournment.
So,
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.